Hello everybody, welcome to Amina's Moment. We are so glad that you were able to tune in tonight, and we're hoping again that you are helped with something that is deposited within you by viewing this video. And so, as we say always, we're not here to give you advice, but we are here to give you little pieces of information. And I love the fact that those are ingredients that you can take and create your own recipe for success. So with that being said, you take what fits you. You are an individual. I'm an individual. We should be celebrated as such. So I hope you enjoyed this video and you get something out of it. And I'm hoping that you're able to share the video with your family, with your friends, and so we can actually begin to reach more and more people. So let's get started with our discussion on tonight. Well, I had to survey one of the classes at work, some 8th graders, because I didn't know if teenagers or young adults knew what Simon Says was, the game. And so with that being said, the title of tonight's video is Simon Says, but what do you say? Being a leader or a follower. So I hope that's something that kind of triggers something on the inside where you're saying to yourself, okay, I'll continue to listen. So I don't know how many of you have heard the game, but the concept of the game is very simple. You have one leader. You don't have multiple leaders. You have one. And then you have those that are going to follow what Simon says. So the person will say, Simon says, put your finger on your nose. Okay, you do that at that point. If in fact the person is going through the motions and they're saying Simon says this, Simon says that, and they want to trick you just to get somebody out of the game, they'll just say, touch your nose. The person that does it, they're automatically out. So that is the concept of that game. And one of the things that I like about that game is that it highlights one person. It highlights one leader. That one person that's giving information to the rest of the group in order to get them to understand what they are supposed to do. I want you to know that as a leader, you have the responsibility to define what your role is going to be, what type of impact you want to have on those that are around you, as well as, do you even want to be a leader? Do you want to be a follower? And so with that being said, I have a little story. You always know that I give a personal story about me or somebody that I know with permission. And I just want to let you know that the purpose of these stories are to show that we all have faults, we all have shortcomings, etc. There is something wrong with us all. Nobody is perfect. And anybody that says that they are, I won't comment on that. But nobody is perfect, okay? So you're not going to be able to say, Aamina said that this person is that, if in fact that they say that they're perfect. So, however, so I went from one school to another. I'm going to leave the names of the schools out. And once I got there, I realized, when I got to my new school, I realized that the majority of the kids, they used profanity. They cursed within everyday language. Now, the school I had been to before, that wasn't a part of the language that was used that I heard. So, got there and noticed that, and I'm like, wow, okay, this is interesting. So, it seemed like those that were popular, those that seemed to have pull with everybody, that everybody wanted to be around during lunch and recess, it just seemed like that they actually wanted to use that type of language and it was accepted. So what I did was I went home and I decided, oh, and let me say this, by the way, please do not laugh at my story because this is a serious story, just so you know. So I went home knowing that my mother was not for profanity, knowing that I was not raised like that. I went home and I practiced in my mind because I couldn't say the words out loud because then my mom would hear me. And I practiced and I said, okay, if this person says this, then I'll be able to come back with that. I was prepared. Got to school, found a conversation that I felt like, you know what, I got this. I'm ready. I got my thoughts together. I was literally expecting to be successful in using profanity. So ended up getting into the conversation, you know, as friends, we're just talking and everything like that. And I then respond to something that was said. And I used the curse word. Well, after I used the curse word, people started looking at me. And I'm thinking like, what the heck? Didn't you just hear what I said? I'm thinking, you know, I'm going with the flow of the conversation. And so it was a very awkward moment for me. So after that, I was so grateful that someone picked up on the next topic of discussion. Whatever it was, they went on to something else and totally disregarded what I said. And I have my notes down here just so you know, as always. And so there was a student that pulled me aside afterwards, and they said, Aamina, what was that? And I'm thinking to myself, what do you mean, what was that? And I ended up asking, I don't understand. And they told me I didn't sound right saying what I said and that I used it incorrectly. It was a wake-up moment for me. And I realized at that point that I am not going to be like everybody else. Even though I practiced. And I know you may say, who practices how to curse? I did because I had never done it before. If you've never done something before, you need to put forth some effort to make it work so it actually looks as though you know what you're doing. Correct? Correct. You've never played basketball before? You don't want to go out on the court and you've never touched a basketball. You have to practice. So I had never used profanity before, so I chose to practice. And I still failed. And the reality and the reason why I failed, I believe, and those of you, I want you to know that I am not here to even push my religious beliefs on you. I'm not here to, say that this is the kind of church you need to go to, but I will say this because this is a part of who I am as a person. God ordained that I be different. And in actuality, he ordained that we all be different, that there's something different about us. And so even though, and I put this down here as well, even though I considered myself to be somewhat of a leader after that, I had to recognize the responsibility or the responsibilities that came along with it. And I didn't really understand what being a leader meant because in my opinion, if I want to accomplish something, if I want to make sure that something happens, then I'm going to be a part of something that's growing where, you have the people and things like that. But I had to find out down the road that is not what it means to be a leader. And to be an individual, to be comfortable in your own skin, that is one of the best qualities that a leader can have. And I chose to have, I would probably say, a tacky goal. It was pathetic, actually, to practice on how to speak in a way that was totally against the way that I was raised. And not only that, I would never talk to my boss that way. I would probably get fired. And so I look at some young people and I know that they are influenced and that you are influenced by your friends, maybe things that you see on TV or even the music that you listen to, and you feel as though this is the way I should portray myself, whether it's with profanity or with not. And if in fact you can say to yourself that this is allowing me to be a better me, then you have to make that decision on your own. I know for Aamina, a better me was not having that type of foul language within my vocabulary. And my uncle told me one day, he said, and this is no offense to anyone who uses foul language, but he told me, he said, those that use profanity have a very limited vocabulary because that is the only way they are able to express themselves. And so I want you to consider the fact that being a leader is an amazing thing. We all have leadership qualities within us. It is a matter of identifying what they are and embracing those qualities. Because I personally, I wanted to be liked by everybody. I wanted everybody to kind of get along with me, and it didn't happen. And I was out there and basically I failed. But once I recognized who Aamina was, and I didn't try to be like anybody else, that's when I succeeded. And so I do have something that I would like to read to you that I wrote down. You have the ability to be an inventor, a leader of a company, a leader within your group of friends, where you set high standards of the behavior that you accept to be around you. You have the ability to be an author of a book, an educated individual in the midst of people who will settle for less than great. I am talking to you. You be the leader and not the follower. You can bring about a positive change in our society. By being a leader, you can influence others to be leaders in their own right. By being a leader, you can be an example of what hard work and diligence will do. By being a leader, you can be great by being a leader and not a follower. And so I would like to take this time to thank my husband, Dedrick, who gave me the idea for this topic. You know, thinking about leaders and followers, very, very important topic. I'm hoping that one day we can touch back on it, but this was just the beginning. And again, I want to thank you for tuning in to Amina's Moment. I hope you receive something from it, and I hope to see you next week. Have a great day.